that's why I don't even have like this normal stuff on that way, like the game, nothing on, because it's too much. Hey everybody! You like that? Jumped right in.
Oh yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome to the program, the sports program on TSPN. We are live on Saturday before the first wild card games. This is going to be a shorter episode, which is fine because it's on YouTube's now, which means, people have less of attention span. We're not on Facebook. I mean, we've shared it to Facebook, and you can go, like our page and then, watch us or whatever. Or you can just go to YouTube and watch it there. It's also been shared on Twitter and stuff. Zach, we got a bunch of followers on Twitter. We did.
I know you've already like tripled what I was doing on our YouTube page in like a day.
Well, I was just trying to.
Or Instagram, excuse me.
I've been I had a few New Year's resolutions this year, basically they're all focused on trying to get this show on the road.
Well, if you want to go onto our Instagram page and start adding people, then I fully promote that.
I will do that. The only reason why I didn't start doing that is because I wanted to talk to you first before I start following a bunch of randos.
Oh, follow whoever you want. I hope they DM me.
I'll follow you. I'd follow you into Avalon if that's what you're asking.
If that's what you're asking.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Man, I'm excited. Zach's excited. We're excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. We picked a couple teams already for today. We can recap that a little bit. I think I took the Seahawks over Dallas, and I think you took Dallas, right?
I did take Dallas, and then we agreed on the second game.
And the second game, we both took the Colts over the Texans. However, I'm a sucker for a story, and this morning I woke up and I watched Sports Center. And I saw a really cool interview with Deshaun Watson, and I would be okay with him winning and making a run. He seems like such a nice guy.
Oh, I'm rooting for him all the way. So me and I don't know if you ever got into it, but we are doing the playoff challenge on NFL.com right now. There's, I believe, 14 of us in the group so far. Nice. That have made our picks. And basically, it's like fantasy football. You can pick who you think is going to play well, but obviously if you pick someone who is going to lose, then you're not going to have them for the next round. So you want to pick someone not only that you think is going to do good, but you want to pick someone who's on a team you think is going to do good. And I'm curious to who will pick Deshaun Watson and Hopkins and a few of the people on Houston, because potentially you could ride those two, and if you picked up the Houston defense, you might be able to ride that all the way to the Super Bowl. But to oppose that, you could also do the same with the Colts. I actually thought about just picking up, Ebram, T.Y. Hilton, Andrew Luck, Marlon Mack, Colts defense, Adam Vinatieri is a kicker, and then just seeing if you could. I bet Paul Page does it. Paul Page is the winner of our regular season pigskin pick'em. And yeah, he might be the winner of the playoff challenge, but it is so hard because there's a multiplier every week. So if you pick someone week 1 and you ride them all the way to the Super Bowl, you get ×4 for the Super Bowl. So it benefits you to stick to your guns, right? Yes. So every year, people pick people that are on their team if their team makes the playoffs. So Paul will probably pick all Colts. And if they lose in the first round, then he's got to pick a whole new team week 2. So I have a really weird feeling that Jeff could really dominate because he's going to pick all Saints because that's his team. And now you don't get any points week 1, but week 2 you automatically get ×2. So yeah, it was really hard for me not to go Saints Chiefs. Just stick with the 2 1 seeds and see if I can ride them all the way to the Super Bowl. But I don't feel comfortable with any team in the NFC right now. I don't know how you feel about these playoffs, but you could tell me any team from the NFC could go, and I believe you.
Yeah, I know. Even even the Eagles again. The NFC is such a mix-up, right? It's such a mixed bag. If I woke up tomorrow and it was the playoffs were rounding out, and you told me that the last that the last teams, like the teams playing for the NFC, if you told me like any of those teams were in the NFC Championship game, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Even the Seahawks.
You could
even the
you
Cowboys.
could even tell me, you could tell me it was the Eagles versus Baltimore in the Super Bowl, and I would not be surprised.
No, in fact, I would welcome that actually, as long as the Eagles lost.
I mean, I would be rooting for the Eagles in that game. I will be rooting for Nick Foles all playoffs now, but I've also been on the record saying that I will be rooting for whoever wins the Eagles-Bears game for the NFC. And of course, I'm with a legion of people that I've met in the past couple weeks talking sports, where we are all rooting for Uncle Phil and the San Diego Chargers to go all the way.
Yeah, I think so. I'm still on that Chargers. I'm still on my Chargers pick'em from the beginning of the season. I still think they're the most well-rounded. I want Uncle Phil to get a title. I want him to win. Because from that class, I guess we can call it, he's the only big one that we haven't seen do it. And if Eli's going to get one, and Big Ben's got two, or Eli's got
Eli
two.
and Ben both have two.
They have two. Then we need Uncle Phil to get one too.
I just want Uncle Phil to get one. He hasn't got to get two.
Yeah, just one.
But for him, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees, we were talking about storylines. We've been talking about storylines for a couple weeks now.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about overall storyline for me. Half of the playoffs, not even half, 4 of the quarterbacks really in the playoffs are veterans. If you put Nick Foles into that category, I consider him a veteran for sure. Age-wise, might not have as many starts as some of the older guys. Heck, he probably doesn't have as many starts as some of the younger guys in the playoffs. Right. But the thing is for me, storyline this year is like almost out with the old, in with the new, or is it too soon for that? Because we have Lamar Jackson, rookie. We have Trubisky, second year. We have Pat Mahomes, second year. Yeah. Jared Goff, third year.
Yeah.
It's littered with first, second, and third year quarterbacks, and really just first and second year quarterbacks. I mean, if you really think about it. But then you have Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and Phillip Rivers.
Well, I think we could throw Russell. Let's throw Russell.
And Russell's a veteran too.
And then Dak. And Dak's what, 4 years?
Third year,
I think. Oh yeah, so Dak's third year. So you're absolutely right. You got.
There's no one in the middle this year.
No. I would say the closest to the middle would probably be Russell, but I still would consider him a vet at this point.
So what I'm wondering is, are we somehow if you told me that Drew Brees and Tom Brady, 2 40-year-old quarterbacks, are playing for the Super Bowl,
I know.
That's a storyline there.
It is.
But if you also tell me that, say, in the AFC Championship, Pat Mahomes beats Tom Brady.
Yeah. Okay.
Such a passing of the torch there. Yeah. And then in the NFC, say in the AFC or in the NFC Championship, like Jared Goff or Mitchell Trubisky beat Drew Brees.
Right.
Passing of the torch there.
Or the Super Bowl. Or the Super Bowl itself, if you had like Brady getting beat by Goff or Trubisky.
Right. I think it'd be the best thing for me, best scenario for me, because you can play it any way, is Phillip Rivers gets there finally, or one of the older NFC or AFC quarterbacks like Tom Brady gets there against one of the young guys. I think that would make a really interesting storyline. Say it was like Trubisky versus Brady, like you're saying, or
So I was talking to somebody at work about this yesterday, and they said, like, who do you root for now that your team is out? And I was thinking about that answer, and I was saying, like, so one of the silver linings of having your team not get into the playoffs is that you can really watch more objectively, and what we're talking about right now is the stories. I like that I'm able to get into the stories now. Because the story, if my team's in the playoffs, the story for me is I want my team to win and go to the Super Bowl. But like my team not getting in, and we will talk about the Steelers in a little bit here, by the way. Good God. But with the team not getting in, now it's like this. It's exactly this. And I like where you're going with like the old versus new for the Super Bowl. I think that's a good story. I think that'd be definitely interesting.
Yeah, like a Deshaun Watson versus Drew Brees would be really cool too.
Yeah.
That would be just a good game in general. Like that's two good defenses and two good offenses. Like a lot of big names in that. Now, what could scare people is if we get two young quarterbacks against two good defenses in the Super Bowl and both quarterbacks choke, because everyone knows we want quarterback play, especially on the biggest stage. So let's say we get Lamar Jackson versus Mitchell Trubisky, two best defenses, two really young, inexperienced quarterbacks who tend to throw some absolute garbage balls. Like, Mitchell Trubisky has made some beautiful throws down the field this season, actually, and Lamar Jackson will make an occasional throw that goes, wow, he's very accurate on that play-action pass. But he also misses wide open wide receivers and just throws it at their feet. And Mitchell Trubisky will do the same, or he'll pull who's a good example? He'll pull Cam Newton and on like a 15-yard route just sail it 5 to 10 yards over a guy's head. So you know that's going to intensify in a Super Bowl where defenses really step up. And the Ravens defense and the Bears defense could really make those two quarterbacks look bad. But I wouldn't be surprised if either team made it, though.
Yeah, no, I'm going to agree. I also think if you so another story, too, that we could throw in the mix, too, that I also think would be really interesting would be Andrew Luck.
Oh, I didn't even mention him when I was talking about old or young quarterbacks. Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson are basically the same age. They're from the same draft class. So they are the in-between. They are the middle. They are the middle ground. So what could end up happening is the young players are too young and the old players are too old, and then we get an Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson Super Bowl, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But if I had to pick one team from each side, and I'm pretty confident actually in the Colts, but if I had to pick one team from each side that I said this would be my last choice to make the Super Bowl, it's those two teams. So I would say the Colts are the sixth best team in the AFC in the playoffs, and the Seahawks are the sixth best team in the NFC in the playoffs. But there is such a small discrepancy between 1 and 2 because the Patriots are the second best team in the AFC this year record-wise, and the Colts could easily beat them.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah. If I was a betting man, which sometimes I am, and I had to pick the bottom two teams to say, like, I bet these two teams aren't going against each other in the Super Bowl, it would probably be Seahawks Colts. But if you've been listening to the show for the last 2 years, you know that I am wrong a lot. So
yeah, if you've been listening to this show, you know.
Yeah, if you listen to my UFC fight picks from 2 weekends ago, God.
Good God, that's funny.
We never even talked about that afterwards. I was riding that Cyborg hype real hard, and she got destroyed. It was so fun to watch.
She got dismantled, huh?
Yeah, Amanda Nunes just went out there in the first minute of the first round and just knocked her the hell out. And it was honestly, it was awesome. Really fun to watch. That was a real passing of the torch situation. I think that's kind of why.
Was it a fast match too? 1 minute.
Well, 1 minute. She basically. So Cyborg is used to going out there and bullying everyone because, I mean, she hits like a freaking truck, and no one really in women's combat sports has her like technical prowess mixed with strength. So she just knocks everyone out and picks them apart until she does. But Amanda Nunes has kind of done the same thing over the last couple of years, and she was the lighter. You know, she was one going up 10 pounds per weight class and really wanted to win 2 belts, and went out there and kind of just swarmed her in the first minute, and almost every shot she threw basically landed, and it was like she looked just like Cyborg kind of used to, just now that she's a little younger, shipped faster. And I mean, both were really great sports afterwards. You know, it was like a real like I said, passing of the torch. And that's kind of where I'm at now with all sports. Is I think this is the year where we could really start to see that in a lot of different organizations. Like this could be that in the NBA this year. It could be that in the NFL, or it could be a real not so fast type of situation, and a couple of these old dudes, show they still got it. Which I don't think I'd be mad either way, unless it's Tom Brady who wins another championship.
Yeah, yeah. I know. So I guess the other part of when I was asked who I'd be rooting for now that my team's not in it, I guess the other part is, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but of course it was just kind of like, well, I guess obviously I'm rooting against the Patriots to not go, and it's not. I don't know. I've gotten to where I can't even say it's like the haterade, like the hate, like being a hater of it. It's just like I like seeing different. I just like seeing different. I mean, if it was the Texans and the Rams, yeah, the Texans and the Rams, or the Texans and the Bears, I'd be like, oh wow, what a cool Super Bowl.
Right.
But then again, if it was the Texans and the Bears, that would be you could see some pretty nasty throws getting thrown, and I mean, or the Rams. Goff throws some pretty fun passes sometimes that look like they shouldn't have been thrown ever.
Yeah, so that's what I'm just super interested in.
Yeah.
Is how are these young guys going to do? Just the sheer number of them that are in the playoffs says that one of them is going to step up.
Yeah.
So who's it going to be? Like, I would say the top two candidates are Pat Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. I would say the bottom two candidates are probably Trubisky and Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson really doesn't have to step up that much. He just has to keep running the ball 20 times a game from the quarterback position, and their defense has to keep playing well, and they have a great chance to win every game. They've only lost once since they started them.
Yeah, and when we get to our picks on that, that's actually that Chargers and Ravens game is the one that I'm probably most excited to watch.
Oh yeah, game of the week.
The Chargers got beat pretty handily by them, but they are, I mean, if you watch right now, they're the best road team.
Right.
And it's because I think it's what we were talking about like throughout the season. It's because every game's a road game. And I still stand by that. They don't have they're playing in a stadium that's not theirs, and they're relocated like recently. So
right,
people are still. I've heard people this week on TV mess up and say San Diego.
Oh yeah, you hear it every week, honestly, and it's still more last year people said, but I would say even still this year, it still feels like so far the Rams have won LA over. And the Chargers have not.
How cool would it be for me to, if it was the Battle of LA for the Super Bowl, and which I did say that, I said the Battle of LA for the Super Bowl at the beginning of the season. That was my pick. I am less confident in the Rams though. I'm a little less confident in the Rams than I am in the Chargers right now. However, if the Rams do go, I don't want to say I'm surprised. I just feel like I'm less confident in the Chiefs and the Rams than I was in the beginning of the season.
For me, it was, of all people, it was the injury to Cooper Kupp that made me just lose faith in the Rams. I have not been as confident in them since they lost him. Now, what they were able to do even when Gurley got hurt for a little bit and C.J. Anderson come in and actually have a good game, I have refound some confidence in that offense, but there's also parts of me that trace back to a couple of their games, like the Saints game, where I'm like, man, I don't know if they play a good defense and Todd Gurley gets shut down. I don't know what Jared Goff can do in the playoffs. So and then, I'm really torn there.
And then the Chiefs, my kind of loss in faith was obviously the biggest hit to that team was their running back with all of his shenanigans.
Right.
Huge hit to that team. And then, I've been critical of their defense all season. I mean, they've won all of these games, but it's because Mahomes, of their offense, they score so much that it hasn't really mattered if their defense. I think you said a couple weeks ago, like their defense. It might even have been on Wednesday.
It was on Wednesday.
Their defense holds them when they need to hold, and And if you can get the ball, if they're close in score and you can get the ball to Mahomes with a minute left, and even if they're down by a touchdown, the defense has done it. And I thought about what you said on that, and I like that analogy. It's like if you have the ball to Mahomes with a minute left and they're down even by like a touchdown or a field goal, I think you've succeeded as a defense, because now it's up to Mahomes, and I have faith that he can do that.
I agree, but man, this is such a hard playoff. I am torn on almost every pick that I've done so far, and I'm sure next week when the Chiefs do play, it's going to be even harder to be really confident on, are they actually going to win? And once again, it's, man, Chiefs at home.
Yeah.
Chiefs at home. Andy Reid needs to win a home playoff game to convince me, but it's something I use a lot, especially I used it a lot for the picks this year, like when I picked the Cowboys over the Saints and things like that. I'll use this example, or when I picked the Texans to finally lose after like 9 straight wins. Sometimes teams are just due, and that's why they win, because they're due. Like, odds say if the Chiefs have lost the last 5 home games in the playoffs, they're going to win a home game in the playoffs. So next week, no matter who plays the Chiefs, I'm going to pick the Chiefs because they are due.
Yeah. So the Chiefs. So they haven't won a home game in the playoffs, right?
Since Andy Reid came, yeah.
Since Andy Reid came, and they have like the Andy Reid. I don't know. People, they like to say curse. I don't know. You can't call that a curse.
He's been incredibly successful, and it's really hard to win a championship.
So I'll real quick some kind of behind the scenes stuff. So, obviously by going to YouTube, we lose some of those. Well, a bulk of those live listeners on Saturdays. For now, I think we'll get everyone on board. But I just want to point out, Zach, there actually is, if you go onto the YouTube, there is a live chat on there. So we need to tell those Saturday listeners that are usually chiming in, they can go to YouTube and chat with us live. So we just got to tell them that.
They can, and they should.
Absolutely, they should.
Absolutely, they should.
Absolutely, they should. I'm sharing everything on the Facebook now, because it does. Even though you're coming in frozen, the feed does look good. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about the feed. Obviously, that's boring. So I watched. I watched a really good game last night. I watched Portland and the Thunder.
Thunder.
Yeah. Boy, that was a good friggin' game. Did you watch that?
It was on while I was out and about, but I mean, I had no audio, so it's so much harder to get into the games when you can't hear, especially some of those announcers do a really good job of getting you excited when you can tell the crowd's excited.
Yeah, I have a hard time watching it with the sound off too, which I do end up watching a lot of games like that because I watch it in the living room.
Yeah.
And we have other crap on. But I watched the game with the sound while I was doing the room last night when I was rearranging, and boy, it was just a barn burner. I wasn't even mad by the outcome. The Thunder looks so good. As the season, as NBA moves along here. And again, for our listeners, this is the first season that I am watching from beginning to end. I'm actively rooting for my team that we selected during the summer, the Portland Trail Blazers. I am paying attention, fully on board. First time ever. Last year was kind of like dipping my feet in by starting this show. I've always been more of a hockey, football, baseball guy. This year I'm into it hard. Basketball. I'm going to go watch a game in March.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, I'm so stoked about it. Haven't bought my tickets yet, but I'm working on doing that on Friday. Anyway, so we started at the beginning of the season, and it's kind of like the same thing every year with for the last few years where it's okay, the Golden State Warriors, they're the team to beat, and they still are. They're still the team to beat. But there are teams in the West now that are. I don't think I'm just so easily saying that the Warriors are going to do it this year, because all these teams right now, like in the West, look like candidates to be able to dethrone them. The Rockets they have looked great the last few weeks. The Thunder look awesome. The Lakers have like signs of brilliance.
Yeah, they just need to be healthy, really.
Yeah. And then even though like Portland got swept last year, but I think you've hit the nail on the head. Like even on Wednesday when you said they just went against the wrong team basically. If Portland would have went against the Warriors last year, maybe they would have had a better shot. But even them, when I've watched them play this year, in the few games they've played against the Warriors, it's like, man, like even Portland can do it. Like it's been really interesting. I don't know if it's. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, please. I don't know that the Warriors look any worse than what they've looked. I know there's some issues behind the scenes there. Despite what the team might say, there's some issues behind the scenes there with Kevin Durant.
Right.
You know.
That might just be something that we might find out at the end of the season that there's more going on.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if some of it is with his free agency coming up. If there's some tension there. I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much on that. But I definitely could think that, you know, they come out and they say, look, no, there's no issues. But then when you watch them play, and you could definitely tell there's some tension especially between Kevin Durant and Draymond Green. Obviously, we've already seen that. I don't know. It just seems like. Do you think it's the Warriors not being as good as they normally are, or do you think it's that just the West has elevated some of those teams so much, like with LeBron to the Lakers, or with the Rockets getting rid of Carmelo Anthony, or with the Thunder just looking good? I mean,
Or the Thunder getting rid of Carmelo Anthony.
Or the Thunder getting rid of Carmelo Anthony, or like. So I think we're seeing now like what the Lakers are interested or whatever in Anthony Davis, right?
Right.
I don't know what kind of pieces they would have to give up to get him, but I would say do it.
Well, potentially they can just wait till the offseason and he becomes a free agent. So
yeah, I still think they should do what you were saying at the beginning of the season, and that's play through this season exactly as is. Like don't. I mean, they've already added like Chandler, which was a good move.
Right, that's a cheap piece right there. That didn't cost the team anything.
Yeah.
You didn't have to give up any young assets to get him. And really, the only asset I think they're looking to potentially get rid of is Caldwell Pope. But Caldwell Pope is really starting to get his game back, so
yeah,
they might just ride him out for the last year of his contract there.
Yeah, so like it's ringing true what you said at the beginning of the season is like keep every piece that you have in the Lakers right now. Adding Chandler's good, that's a cheap piece. Don't like dismantle the team to try to get a win right now cuz you're probably most likely not going to get it. Ride the team out, see where you get, see if if you make the playoffs and you even get through even like the first round of it, then you can reevaluate in the offseason. Maybe you get Anthony Davis because he's available, you know, or whatever. I think there's something to that, because the expectation right going into this season is that they're not going to win. So if you already have the expectation of not winning, then why sacrifice everything right now? Like don't get rid of all your young players because you don't know what you're going to do in the playoffs right now. When does NBA All-Stars start?
I don't know, but the voting just started. Like they do like your vote counts double and stuff right now, things like that. But
I've been voting for.
It's usually end of February, beginning of March, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and I've been voting pretty handily for Damian Lillard.
Right, and he'll make it.
Yeah, I think so too. God, he's so good. I'm so glad I chose them as a team because they've been absolutely what I would want, like in a team.
Right, and as long as they can hold on to him, they're going to be good for years, and I think they will do their best to keep on to him, which is awesome. Going back to what you said earlier, you said, is Golden State worse or is the rest of the league getting better? You're kind of leaning on it getting better. Well, I'm kind of leaning on both.
Okay.
So they're just not quite the team they were last year or the year before, but also, yeah, the rest of the team the rest of the league has gotten better. The Rockets have not gotten better, by the way. James Harden has gotten better. The Rockets have gotten worse, and James Harden is officially emerged as, if not the best, the second best offensive player in basketball. And I would say he is the best offensive player in basketball now. He is so good that, like, that win against Golden State the other night, that was all him, like 100%. So I don't think the rest of the league has gotten better. For example, Spurs don't have Kawhi, so they're worse. Though they are surging really hard right now, and they totally dismantled Kawhi, which was fantastic. We haven't got to talk about that at all yet, but that was fantastic. Portland has gotten better. Yes. But New Orleans has gotten worse. Thunder, it's another year of Paul George and Westbrook together. Westbrook is playing definitely worse this year, but the addition of Dennis Schroeder as the backup point guard has made up for the slack there. And now it is officially Paul George's team and not Russell Westbrook's team. So that's an interesting dynamic, and probably the dynamic they need to stick with to be successful. I don't think the Warriors have gotten that much worse. I think they are playing worse, though. The team is still really good, and they're a team that still has Boogie Cousins on the mend, so they are only going to get better come playoff time. They are going to have five All-Stars in the starting lineup, which is insane.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so there is that, too. I keep forgetting about Cousins, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But then I keep seeing, like, I'll be like, oh man, I wonder what they're gonna do to, like, get better. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, they'll have him.
Right. That's what they'll do. That's what all they really need. It'll be interesting to see how much playoff wins change whatever bad dynamic is going on there. Because as much as Kevin Durant seems like, I wouldn't be surprised if he left right now, but they win another championship. I mean, are any of us going to be surprised if he stays?
No, I don't think so. I do think there's still a really good chance he'll go. But I still don't know where. I really don't know where. I keep thinking I want to say, like, the Knicks.
I mean, that would be awesome. I think that would be. We're already starting to see more balance in the NBA this season. With how much better the East is this year with Milwaukee and Toronto, and definitely not the Celtics. 100% not the Celtics, man. They're trash. They suck. But anyways, so not them, but for sure Toronto, 76ers for sure. I mean, we're seeing an improvement in the East. Adding one more team that can contend and a name like Kevin Durant really just ultimately balances the whole thing out for me. And really that dismantles the Warriors. The Warriors, going back to Clay and Steph Curry, like a formula that has won them a championship in the past, I don't believe could ever win them a championship again. So Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, without Kevin Durant, I don't believe could ever be a title contender again.
Yeah. And I'm glad, and you absolutely called this too. The whole, like, super teams thing, we saw we saw the Thunder and the Rockets both, like, immediately try to do, like, this super team, and then, with Carmelo, and basically, I think we're already seeing the super team thing not be a thing anymore. We're already seeing, like, this trend. Like, the Lakers added Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee, and, like, they're not stars. They're a good supporting cast.
Right. Well,
Rondo.
That is, like I said at the beginning, before the year started, that is because nobody wants to go to a team where they're no longer the best player. NBA players want to be the guy they all do. Damian Lillard might always stay in Portland because he will always be the number one in Portland. LeBron's always had a hard time, unless he got up and moved to Miami, getting All-Stars to play with him, because All-Stars want to be the best player on their team, and I think we're always going to see that with LeBron. And Like, say Kawhi goes to LA next year, that's why a lot of people think he would rather go to the Clippers than the Lakers, because that would be his team. I don't think super teams always work. Kevin Durant, I think, was just really thirsty for a championship. So it took a very unique individual in Kevin Durant to want to do that, and I don't think a lot of other players would.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. I don't wonder too hard about this, but so like example Lillard on Portland, like you just said. So he most likely won't ever get a championship in Portland, but he is like the guy on the team with CJ McCollum, and the city absolutely like worships him. And I think that can be valuable in it of itself, to be the guy in a city where they all absolutely love you and you're like their favorite thing ever. So like for instance, Kawhi Leonard in Toronto right now, like that was not ideal placement. He clearly did not want to be there, but it does seem like he's enjoying being there while he's there. That could be him making the most out of it, or that could be him actually enjoying it.
Well, yeah, for sure. I'll tell you what he didn't enjoy, and I was going back to San Antonio.
Yeah. So I was also going to say that. So he, I can't remember who did San Antonio get from the Raptors?
DeMar DeRozan, who got his first career triple-double in his whole career against the Toronto Raptors the other night. And he also didn't play like the entire third quarter. He had like 18 points in the first half.
Yeah.
He basically was like, okay, guard me, Kawhi Leonard. If you're the best defensive player in the league, guard me. And half the time they didn't even put him on DeMar. Yeah. Which I found extremely interesting. But the times that he did, he took it straight to him. I'm not saying that he absolutely made Kawhi not look like the best defensive player in the league, because he still is, in my opinion. But he played with a lot of passion against that. And, yeah, him and Jakob Poeltl, the other guy in the trade that no one even knows exists, unless you are a San Antonio fan.
Right.
Jakob Poeltl also came over with him, and he has been a pretty decent backup while Pau Gasol's been hurt, and it's been really fun to watch.
Yeah. So I was going to say with DeMar DeRozan as well, he did not want to be traded. He did not want to go to San Antonio. But, again, the Spurs games I've watched there, he seems genuinely like he likes being with Greg Popovich.
Right.
He's the guy right now in San Antonio, and I still think San Antonio is going to make it into the playoffs.
For sure.
I mean, I think right. Are they 8 seed right now?
No, they're not even the 8 seed anymore. They've moved above that, I believe.
Okay,
I believe they're now up to the 7th now.
So they are, but they're seeded though right now, and that's with supposedly with Kawhi Leonard getting moved, and supposedly they were supposed to have this hard time this season, and so far, and they did, they started off slow, and the West is definitely going to be tough in the post. It's going to be a tough season for them.
Yeah.
Is Greg Pop is he wanting to retire, or is he saying he wants to stay for a little while longer?
I think next year is his last season no matter what. So he signed a contract the length, basically, I believe, of LaMarcus Aldridge's contract. That's how he got LaMarcus to come in the first place, even though things started a little rough after he did come. I believe they are both signed through the end of next year. So potentially at the end of next season, they could lose DeMar DeRozan if he opts out, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Greg Popovich. So just be a completely new team. But they have all of them this year, and they have all of them next year. Pop is coaching USA basketball next year. He's taken over for Coach K, which means he will actually probably be coaching Kawhi Leonard in the offseason next year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and DeMar DeRozan. He'll be coaching both of them, which will be exciting because they will both probably be on USA. They are both on USA basketball currently.
I got to get better at turning off my mic for the cough. I got to remember that.
No worries. But this is what I want to say about the Spurs. Yes, they are a playoff team currently. And in my opinion, I don't want to give them too much credit, but in my opinion, they are a second-round playoff team. They are a team who, as long as they are not playing the Warriors again in the first round, will beat any other team in the first round. They are at least a second-round team. The one team I really don't want to play would be Houston. Actually, I'd rather play the Warriors than Houston because if you've watched any Houston-San Antonio game in the last 2 years since that playoff victory they got against them a couple seasons ago, they just had their number. I mean, like, James Harden does not let the Spurs beat them, whether it's a home or away game. But they play the Grizzlies tonight, so that's a team that if they win, they push the Grizzlies even further down out of the playoff race. They just dismantled the Raptors, like absolutely destroyed them. They scored 42 points in the third quarter against the Celtics and made them look bad. Hayward is garbage. That team's trash.
Yeah.
They destroyed the Clippers, and they split a series against the Nuggets. So the last 2 weeks, and before all that, win against the 76ers by 30, win against the Magic by almost 40, win against the Timberwolves by almost 30. So they're hot. They're hot at the right time. Yeah. I'm excited moving forward.
Yeah. I've been enjoying watching them. On my like ESPN app, I started following them because I try to follow teams that like my friends like, so I can see how they're doing. So I follow them obviously, and then Portland, but every time the Spurs come on my phone, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna watch that. So I've been watching a lot of Spurs games. They're on YouTube TV a lot, actually. They do show them on YouTube TV. It's very nice.
We get a lot of the NBA TV games, and then it seems like at least once every couple of weeks. I mean, this week we got a TNT game, and then every week we don't get a TNT game, we get an ESPN game. So they're. I mean, DeRozan is one of the stars in the NBA, one of the better known names, and they have LaMarcus Aldridge, who, I mean, he's not the Portland star LaMarcus Aldridge that he used to be, but they have names. I mean, and they have Greg Popovich, so they're not. This is not the San Antonio team back in the day where people really only watched them because they were kind of the heels of the NBA. Like, people watched them to like watch them lose. Basically, they were like the Patriots. Like, people only watch Spurs games to see the Spurs lose. I think out of all years, and I think maybe it's because of the Kawhi Leonard thing, the whole issue with him. But I think this is the most likable team they've had since I started watching them. So, like, obviously I'm a fan, so I loved Manu and I loved Tony and I loved Tim Duncan, but I don't think they were very popular around the rest of the NBA back in the day when everyone was a Kobe fan and the Spurs were kind of like a thorn in his side.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, hey, so the game is about ready to start, so we should do our pick 'em real quick.
Yes.
And probably wrap it up because I think we both want to watch that game.
Yeah, I just had to get in a few Celtics trash calls because now that the NFL season is starting to wrap up, they are taking the Seahawks spot for the team that I will be bashing for the next 6 months.
Yeah. This show will become a basketball show. I mean, we're getting there already. And because I'm more into it, is it like you getting me more into basketball? Is that like when you introduce people to like new music? Like, do you feel that way at all? Like, you got me more into basketball. Like, do you take any pride in that you've gotten me more into this sport? To where I'm not even watching it because we just do this show now. I am actually genuinely enjoying every game that I watch. Like, that's like you getting me into a band. Like, you should take my personal pride in that.
Yeah, and then I find out that you're going to those bands' concerts. It's almost like introducing a couple of buddies to each other, like a guy and a girl, and then they end up dating or they end up getting married, Yeah. That's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. So, I mean, if you're still with basketball 20 years down the road.
Yeah, you've done it. Then you did it. You did your job as a friend. All right, so.
Full of pride.
Full of pride. I'll take credit. I'll take credit for them meeting, but I don't want to take any blame for them getting a divorce.
Yeah, exactly. If you end up hating basketball and like Portland ends up like moving to, I don't know, Calgary, then I'm sorry, bud.
Calgary Blazers. All right. I don't know. They'd be the Storm or something. I don't know. Because the Thunder, right?
Right.
All right. So, first game is actually like about ready to start, if not already has started. The Colts are going to Houston. to face the Texans. In this game, we both chose the Colts. And then we both chose, and then I chose Seattle and you chose Dallas for the game later today. So tomorrow's games. Let me pull up my stuff here, because I want to make sure I get which team is going. Okay, so tomorrow for the first game is the Chargers at the Ravens in Baltimore. Whoo! So now in the first meeting, the Ravens beat them pretty bad, but the Chargers are. I was looking at it. I think they have the best road percentage right now. They have the best road wins. They've won most of their road games. I still maintain what we said at the beginning of the season. They're a road team because they don't have a home. I don't consider LA at home. So I think every game's been a road game for them. I think they're the most well put together team, and I think there's plenty of time for the Ravens to do stuff in the future with Lamar Jackson. I love watching him play. I think it's great that he went to the Ravens and is doing so well there. That said, I'm going to take the Chargers in this game because I still think that they're the most. I still think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, and I am rooting for them. I want Uncle Phil to get one.
Yeah, I think the Ravens can win. I think that they have a great defense. I think that they have a great strategy for winning. Like I said, Lamar Jackson carries the ball 20 times tomorrow, and then they still feed both of their running backs in Dixon and Edwards. Man, they got a great chance. The thing is when the Chargers actually went to Pittsburgh and won that game, or what was the other one? The other one in Kansas City and won that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably two of the hardest places to go play at this time of the year in the AFC, if not the two hardest, outside of Foxborough. That they won me over then. Like I said, they're playoff ready as soon as that win happened. I'm going to stick to that. I'm not going to change it now. I will also be rooting for Uncle Phil, so there's some bias here. But ultimately, it's just that I think the Chargers can match the Ravens on defense. And if that's the case, then I'm going to take the team that has the better quarterback, and that is the Chargers. And I'm really hoping Melvin Gordon actually goes out there. And I know it was kind of an off year for him because of the injuries, but if there was any running back currently that I think could do well against the Ravens defense, it's Melvin Gordon.
Yeah. Love it. And then later on in the day, you're going to see – oh, no. Well, not that much later on in the day. It's pretty early still.
It's right after.
Wow. Because today's game is later, the second
Yeah,
game.
they do the Saturday games are later in the day because of which networks they're on.
Oh, that's
and
right.
And then the Sunday games are the traditional CBS,
That's right. So right after that is the Eagles going to Chicago against the Bears. Ooh, this is actually a kind of a tough pick for me, man. I love the Foles magic, as you've been calling it. He's been he's a returning quarterback, He got the team back into the playoffs. That's pretty, back into the picture. That's pretty cool. That's a huge thing for him. But you can go back and listen to it, listeners. Please do, and tell me I'm wrong. But I've been saying all season, this is one of the few things that we've disagreed on, and you still haven't. It's not like it's a hard disagree, but I have been picking the Bears as my sneaky good team all year. They've been sneaky good, and then they went and snuck themselves into a division win, and then snuck themselves into the playoffs with Mitchell Trubisky and Khalil Mack. And this game is in Chicago, and I think that's the biggest factor for me that does not bode well for Philadelphia, that it is in Chicago. And with that said, I am going to take the Chicago Bears. You think that they're like this year's Rams of last year, where they, like maybe next year, the Bears could maybe go to the Super Bowl or be the best team. But like right now, probably get in, lose out, which is a fair assumption. I do not 100% disagree, but I have been picking them as my sneaky good team, and I am going to stick with them on that. I think they're going to at least beat the Eagles.
Yeah, so I mean, what's weird is because they are playing the Eagles, that's the reason I will pick against them of all teams. Like if they were playing the Cowboys or the Seahawks, I would probably pick the Bears. But of all teams, it's the Eagles. I think Zach Ertz will play extremely well against them. I think Nick Foles. Don't get me wrong. Chicago is 7-1 at home. That's an extremely tough place to play, and I would say especially this time of year. But the Eagles are groomed for this at this point. The Nick Foles magic is not done.
Yeah.
And I think we are going to see the Eagles Super Bowl defense show up tomorrow. So I think they're going to be too much for a young quarterback. And the number one thing is, although the Bears have a great offense stylistically and play call wise, I don't think they have enough weapons currently on that team to go out there and beat the Eagles. So I am going to go with the Eagles. But I do. So very similar to today's games, I agreed with you on one, and I'm disagreeing on the other.
Splitting the difference on the other. This is one of the first playoffs in a long time that I've been. I mean, I'm always kind of excited for the playoffs, but this year with all these teams that have gotten in that traditionally don't get in, this has been a cool season. Like overall, this has just been a cool season. Zach Swan, at the beginning of the season, if I told you the Texans were going to be playing the Colts in the wild card game, would you have thought that? Would you have thought the Colts would be in that?
Probably not the Colts. Probably not this fast. Maybe like a year from now, I would have believed that. And who knows, we probably could see it again a year from now. But no, it was a little fast for me, especially because I didn't even think the Colts would get past the Titans. So, like, if you would have told me that a week ago, I still would have been surprised.
And remember, I think on Wednesday I talked about when they brought out Jacoby Brissett to throw that Hail Mary, I was like, oh no. I mean, I was genuinely worried. I'm like, oh man, Andrew Luck, like, is this the same guy? Like I've always liked Andrew Luck. I think he's great. I don't hate the Colts. I've never hated them, even with Manning on there. And I don't hate Manning. I just think he's kind of annoying.
Right.
Like not. He was good to watch in his prime in football. I'm saying he's annoying because of like Papa John's and Allstate, like that, or Nationwide or whatever the hell. Like I think he's annoying because of that. He was good on SNL.
That he was.
That United Way commercial is still one of the funniest things ever. But he's always kind of been kind of obnoxious to me. Like he's just kind of like this weird. I don't know. Do you feel any of that about Peyton Manning, or am I off base? I don't know. He just always has been kind of like, Peyton Manning.
Everyone knows I don't care for Peyton Manning.
Okay, there you go.
I get a hard time for how much I dislike Peyton Manning, but I do, and I'm sticking to it.
Like the whole when he. They had the bit with him right after he retired where he was watching the Patriots and the Eagles, and like it's kind of a funny bit where they had him be kind of like a megalomaniac, but it was just like, I don't know how not true it is. And I think that's what's irritating. Like, it's not like watching CP3 on the like his commercials with Oscar. Like I'm okay with those, and James Harden, like Chris Paul and James Harden on those commercials, like whatever. But like the Peyton Manning ones, I'm like, ugh, freaking Nationwide,
Yeah.
It's made me like not like Nationwide. I don't even know what that company is. Is that insurance? I don't even know. They're not on my side, Peyton Manning. All right. I'm done with Peyton Manning. Everybody, enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy the first game. Enjoy the second game. Zach, thanks for doing the show again. I love getting you on here, even from Boise.
You bet.
We've maintained a good show while you've been gone. We'll work on the video stuff so that you can actually be in the video and not just that sexy picture of you.
Yeah, I got all dolled up today.
I know, you look good. You look good. What we need to do is just you need to take a picture of yourself sitting in front of that computer.
Well, you could have screenshot me before
I know. Well, maybe that's what I should do is start screenshotting you right before, and then I'll just keep that picture on rotation or whatever. Although I do have a great picture of you on there. It's from your Facebook. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, everyone. You can see those on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. At Quack Swan, at Derek on TSPN. Did you see I changed my handle?
I did not.
I changed it to Derek on TSPN.
I'm proud of you, bud.
Thanks, man. I figured I would tell people what it was, and they're like, how do you spell that? I'm like, okay, that's an issue. Make sure you go to timespitpoorly.fun or tspn.fun, and make sure you follow us all on Twitter. By the way, we do have I need to put the sports program Twitter page on here, too. But it's at sports on TSPN. And, yeah, I don't know. We're making big. I feel like big waves. We're trying to do this whole social media presence to really get out there. That's kind of been my New Year's resolution. Let's get it out there.
Yeah.
I've had fun being on the local market, but that's why we're not streaming to Facebook directly anymore. We want to get out there on we want to play with the big boys. But that is it for our show today. Thank you, everybody. Boston sucks. You heard it from Zach first.
You'll be hearing it from me all season. They suck a bunch of big old balls.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great Saturday, and go Warriors.
Go Warriors.